Chapters 19 and 20 of John Barleycorn, or Alcoholic Memoirs, by Jack London. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Chapter 19. When I was with people who did not drink, I never thought of drinking. Louis did not drink. Neither he nor I could afford it, but more significant than that, we had no desire to drink. We were healthy, normal, non-alcoholic. Had we been alcoholic, we would have drunk whether or not we could have afforded it. Each night after the day's work, washed up, clothes changed, and supper eaten, we met on the street corner or in the little candy store. But the warm fall weather passed, and on bitter nights of frost or damp nights of drizzle, the street corner was not a comfortable meeting place, and the candy store was unheated. Nita, or whoever waited on the counter, between waitings lurked in a back living room that was heated. We were not admitted to this room, and in the store it was as cold as out of doors. Louis and I debated the situation. There was only one solution: the saloon, the congregating place of men, the place where men hobnobbed with John Barleycorn. Well do I remember the damp and draughty evening, shivering without overcoats because we could not afford them, that Louis and I started out to select our saloon. Saloons are always warm and comfortable. Now, Louis and I did not go into this saloon because we wanted a drink. Yet we knew that saloons were not charitable institutions. A man could not make a lounging place of a saloon without occasionally buying something over the bar. Our dimes and nickels were few. We could ill spare any of them when they were so potent in paying car fare for oneself and a girl. We never paid car fare when by ourselves, being content to walk. So in this saloon we desired to make the most of our expenditure. We called for a deck of cards and sat down at a table and played euchre for an hour, in which time Louis treated once and I treated once to beer, the cheapest drink, 10 cents for two. Prodigal. How we grudged it. We studied the men who came into the place. They seemed all middle-aged and elderly workmen, most of them German, who flocked by themselves in old acquaintance groups, and with whom we could have only the slightest contacts. We voted against that saloon, and went out cast down with the knowledge that we had lost an evening and wanted 20 cents for beer that we didn't want. We made several more tries on succeeding nights, and at last found our way into the National, a saloon on 10th and Franklin. Here was a more congenial crowd. Here Louis met a fellow or two he knew, and here I met fellows I had gone to school with when a little lad in knee pants. We talked of old days, and of what had become of this fellow, and what that fellow was doing now, and of course we talked it over drinks. They treated and we drank. Then, according to the code of drinking, we had to treat. It hurt, for it meant 40 to 50 cents a clatter. We felt quite enlivened when the short evening was over, but at the same time we were bankrupt. Our week's spending money was gone. We decided that that was the saloon for us, and we agreed to be more circumspect thereafter in our drink buying. Also, we had to economize for the rest of the week. We didn't even have car fare. We were compelled to break an engagement with two girls from West Oakland with whom we were attempting to be in love. They were to meet us uptown the next evening, and we hadn't the car fare necessary to take them home. Like many others financially embarrassed, we had to disappear for a time from the gay world, at least until Saturday night payday. So Louis and I rendezvoused in a livery stable, and with coats buttoned and chattering teeth, played euchre and casino until the time of our exile was over. Then we returned to the National Saloon and spent no more than we could decently avoid spending for the comfort and warmth. Sometimes we had mishaps, as when one got stuck twice in succession in a five-handed game of Sancho Pedro for the drinks. Such a disaster meant anywhere between 25 to 80 cents, just according to how many of the players ordered 10-cent drinks. But we could temporarily escape the evil effects of such disaster by virtue of an account we ran behind the bar. Of course, this only set back the day of reckoning and seduced us into spending more than we could have spent on a cash basis. When I left Oakland suddenly for the adventure path the following spring, I well remember I owed that saloon keeper $1.70. Long after, when I returned, he was gone. I still owe him that $1.70, and if he should chance to read these lines, I want him to know that I'll pay on demand. The foregoing incident of the National Saloon I have given in order again to show the lure, or draw, or compulsion toward John Barleycorn in society as at present organized, with saloons on all the corners. Louis and I were two healthy youths. We didn't want to drink. We couldn't afford to drink. And yet we were driven by the circumstance of cold and rainy weather to seek refuge in a saloon where we had to spend part of our pitiful dole for drink. It will be urged by some critics that we might have gone to the Y.M.C.A., to night school, and to the social circles and homes of young people. The only reply is that we didn't. That is the irrefragable fact. We didn't. And today, at this moment, there are hundreds of thousands of boys like Louis and me doing just what Louis and I did with John Barleycorn, warm and comfortable, beckoning and welcoming, tucking their arms in his and beginning to teach them his mellow ways. Chapter 20. The jute mills failed of its agreement to increase my pay to $1.25 a day, and I, a free-born American boy whose direct ancestors had fought in all the wars from the old pre-revolutionary Indian Wars down, exercised my sovereign right of free contract by quitting the job. I was still resolved to settle down, and I looked about me. One thing was clear: unskilled labour didn't pay. I must learn a trade, and I decided on electricity. The need for electricians was constantly growing. But how to become an electrician? I hadn't the money to go to a technical school or university. Besides, I